Just a few more announcements to add to what Deborah had shared with you. September 24th is our next Business After Business. It's at Don Bash Jewelers. Starts at 5 o'clock. If you've not attended one of those Business After Business events, excellent networking opportunity. Speaking of networking WOW will be Tuesday, September 17th. That's a slight change in date from previous months. RSVP through the Chamber's website. The next membership meeting will be October 1st, and our guest will be Bethany Dentler, and she'll be giving us a State of the County update. And as I mentioned, the Chamber's website is an excellent resource to find upcoming events and register. Do visit it frequently. It's with my pleasure today to introduce Mayor Hanwell. Dennis Hanwell is the Mayor's Safety Director for the City of Medina. He has been the Chief of Police for the City of Medina for over 12 years. He has nearly 28 years of service with the City of Medina and over 30 years of law enforcement expertise. Dennis has an associate's degree in criminal justice from the University of Akron, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration from Tiffin University. Dennis had served as the president of the Medina County Police Chiefs Association for 11 years. Dennis has had articles published in national criminal justice periodicals and has been the speaker at previous Ohio Attorney General conferences, safety community conferences, and public safety directors conferences. Under his tenure, the City of Medina Police Department has received both state and national recognition for various community policing initiatives. Mayor Hanwell has been married to his wife, Chris, for over 35 years, and they have 2 children, Jonathan and Nicole. If you'd welcome Mayor Hanwell, please.
Give me just one moment. We're just going to adjust here a little bit. I'd like to be closer to you. There we go. Thank you. It's my honor and privilege to be here with you today, and I'd like to particularly thank the Chamber board members and in particular Deborah for giving me this opportunity, and it's nice to see so many of you here. Several people teased me before we got started that I draw quite a crowd. I really think it's the food. But it's good that the public and the business leaders are knowledgeable and informed of what's going on with the city. And I'm happy to report to you today that the state of the city is excellent. Excellent shape. It continues to be excellent. And that is due in no small part to the dedicated staff and department heads, many of which are here, and I'll introduce to you in just a second. I continue to be humbled and honored to serve in this position. It's a job that I enjoy coming to day in and day out because day in and day out I see the commitment of the people to providing servant-like services throughout the community, and you'll hear some of those examples here today. And if I can talk and do this. One of the focuses when I took over as mayor was to improve or do what we could to continue to improve the exceptional services both to our businesses and our citizens. Because when I took over in 2010, I ran in 2009 to take over in 2010. That's right in the middle of the recession. Medina is a special place, you know, with the gazebo. It's got a lot of charm, it's got a lot of draw, but if we don't have our services and what we do for people above the norm, then people are going to go other places, or we're in competition with many other places. So we've made a concerted effort to increase those services, and I'm going to share some of that for you today. You'll see I don't have a bunch of detail other than the titles on the screens, and that's so that I can focus with you and you can focus with me, as opposed to trying to read the things and you guys get way ahead of me and it just doesn't work well. So we'll do it this way. I would like to introduce some of the department heads here at the city. Back at the camera is Jared. Yes, ma'am. Is Jared Fry from our cable office. At this table to my right is Nino Piccoli, our service director, Greg Huber, our law director, Patrick Patton, our city engineer. Kimberly is here at the table where I was, and Steve Vogel is here as well. Am I not close enough?
Just in case.
Okay. And also Bill Lamb was introduced, our council representative. And let it not go unsaid that what we're doing as a city, the services that we're providing, the improvements we're making could not be done without the collaboration of the administration and city council. It goes hand in hand. And we intentionally work to keep the council informed, to discuss things ahead of time with the council so there are no surprises, and to present to the public that we're all on the same page. We're not taking odds at each other, we're not taking shots at each other, and that's done intentionally. Because that's not what the community wants to see, in my opinion, and it's not good government. So you will not see that. So let's talk about some of the residential and business initiatives. I did this presentation probably about a year ago, but I just want to highlight some of the things that have changed since then. We talked about keeping City Hall open all the time. Again, so people have the ability to come in any hour that the city is open. They should be able to get the services they need. Another one that really hit home this past year is responsiveness to citizen complaints. And I continue to get more and more comments from the public of how amazed they are that they can call about a branch, maybe a utility company, maybe it fell, whatever. There's a branch out either in their street or in their tree lawn or whatever, and they can't move it, aren't willing to move it. They want some help from the city. Sometimes within a half hour, 45 minutes, there's a truck there picking up that branch. Sometimes it's Nino himself because his staff have left for the day, and he's putting that trash or putting that branch, or if it happens to be trash, whatever it is, he's out there picking it up himself. And I can tell you the impact that makes on the public, that not only are they bringing concerns to us, but we're acting on those concerns in a very prompt manner. Graffiti removal. Sometimes businesses, maybe they're absent landlords, but we just don't like to see the graffiti in the city. So we've offered, we can't do it without their permission, but we've offered to send the city staff down if it needs repainted, if it needs graffiti remover and it'll come off. We just need their permission, because if there's a risk that it's going to deface or damage it, we can't be responsible and liable for that, and make sure that we get permission for that. Another one more recently here, I don't know why this year of all years, but we're seeing more and more hornets' nests about the size of footballs. Under some of the trees in the tree lawn, some of the resident trees over top of the tree lawn or over top of the sidewalks, both of which are a hazard to the children walking to school, to people out walking in their neighborhoods. And we have a program where we send the forester out that as soon as he gets alerted to it. In one case, I was told about it Sunday night. Monday morning, he's out there spraying it with the killer, and that afternoon, they're cutting the branch off, removing it, and it's gone in less than 24 hours from the time that it's reported. That's responsiveness that people appreciate, and responsiveness that this public, I think, not only expects, but wants to see from its government. We created the Community Development Department. I'm sorry to tell you that we lost Greg Hannon through no fault of our own. He lived in Hudson, his wife teaches in Hudson, and they offered him the opportunity to go back and be the planning director there. That's our loss, but with each of those things, I see it as an opportunity to find somebody with fresh ideas, fresh outlook, and maybe some skills that we didn't have originally to continue to grow that department and make improvements there. We've already done the same-day permits and next-day permits and signs to orient people. We've added carpeting down in the multipurpose room. If any of you have been to our committee meetings, used to be it was a tile floor, and you just couldn't hear. You couldn't hear the committee meetings if you were watching the meetings at home. And it's important to us that people know what's going on with their local government. That's why we tape them. So after recommendations from Jared and Miles at the cable office, we put in all new microphones, carpet, and now you can hear each and every one of our meetings and everything that's being discussed. The council graciously approved money last year for Christmas lights to light the square, and what a draw that was. You literally couldn't have squeezed, I don't think, another person on the square. I was standing at the fire station looking, and people were shoulder to shoulder from the parking stalls to the parking stalls, and there wasn't a place to fit another person in that whole square. And it's our hope that this year it's going to be even bigger. And that's one of the things that we've worked with consciously with Main Street Medina and the Chamber, is to build larger events, draw more people down to the square, because it helps the businesses, and it also promotes people to come back other times, even if they're not going to stop then. And then last but not least, we added online bill paying in December of last year, because it just didn't make sense to me. If you go everywhere else, you know, you can call in and order something, you can have it delivered to your house, but we couldn't get our utility bills paid without physically coming in or mailing them in. You couldn't do it with a credit card. And council approved a program to do that, and we did not want to charge the residents back for those credit card fees. The city assumes those charges, which made Keith a little bit nervous. But the council and I prevailed, and we have that in place now. We've done a great deal with road improvements and infrastructure. I was told one time by a township trustee, Linda Bowers for Lafayette, that, have you been on Lake Road lately? This is the first year I'm in office. Have you been on Lake Road lately? It looks like Detroit. I'm thinking, Detroit? Holy mackerel. So now I've been down to the University Center, but generally when I leave, it's for early morning meetings, and I go down Ryan Road to 162, and I guess I just wasn't paying attention driving through, but she was right. I don't know that it looked like Detroit, but it was deplorable. It was very deplorable. And we presented to council a plan because a certain percentage of our income tax goes to infrastructure improvements. So if we pulled bonds to expedite those industrial road improvements, we could expedite the replacement of those roads. And what really bothered me the most, and you all being business people can appreciate this, is what does that show to the persons coming out to the city to buy a vacant building out there if the impression is the city doesn't care enough to have that road updated and improved and fixed. And I know what impression it would give me, and I think you can make that assessment as well. So we pulled 12.9, almost $13 million in bonds. We did the Commerce Road extension in 2012, tying it from Smith Road to 18 to provide an alternative. Lake Road south of 42 was completed. That was the Detroit area. The West Smith Road now from Plastipac to Lake Road is in process right now. The state was so impressed with the amount of money that the city was investing locally, $12 million, that they kicked in another $600 and some thousand to add a turn lane there at Owens Corning for the truck backups that we have there, and to try to keep things moving, which will help immensely. That's the project that's in process right now. And then in 13 and 14, we're going to do Lake Road from 42 to Smith, West Smith Road from Plastipac to Standard Welding or State Road, the fairgrounds. And today, in process, we have the water line replacement around the historic square. And I've had a number of questions. Anybody see any of the construction in town there? Okay. I just want to make sure you're with me. I've had a number of questions of, Mayor, how could you schedule all these things at once? Well, the easy answer is we didn't. Okay? We knew we had to replace those water lines before they paved it, because what I didn't want is the state to come in and pave it, and then we have a water break, or we intended to replace them anyway. I don't want to dig up that brand new road. So intentionally, we decided to do all the antiquated lines around the square, some of which are 100 years old. So we start our process, and we get a call from ODOT saying, oh, guess what? We're going to be out there in a week, and we're going to start grinding and get prepared for the paving. So now we're pushing our water line project, trying to stay ahead of them. They're only grinding some areas, you may have noticed that, because they're going to do the whole length of 18, the whole length of 57. What they did is the worst areas, they had to take it down lower. So now they're putting an intermediary level in first, and then they'll come and pave the whole thing. So where some of the areas you see where it only got ground so far and then it steps back up, that intermediary level will meet that, and then we'll have a brand new, flat, newly paved, newly marked pavement on the entire length of both 18 and 57 by the end of the year. That's going to be done. The water line project will be done, the paving will be done. And sooner than later, because the asphalt plants will be closing shortly. So we got to get this thing going and get it accomplished. You may remember last year, if you were here, that we talked about the city of Medina got that pushed up to this year when it was originally scheduled for 2014, because the city had money set aside for the local match, which is about 20%, that other cities didn't have. That shows you the financial condition and the planning and the preparation that the city is doing to kind of put us ahead of some of these other cities. In fact, we were also told that the 42 and Route 3 projects will also be moved up a year. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. ODOT and city combined projects. We completed the turn lanes, dedicated turn lanes at Route 3 and Foot Road. All four directions now. That's working very well. That was about $65,000 of city money, and the rest was all from ODOT. 18 and 57 resurfacing is what we're working on now. That's $565,000 of city money. 42 and 3 has been moved to 2014. Now, one thing that changed with that, though, from last year, I don't want you to think I was fibbing to you. Originally, we were going to do 42 the entire length, but it didn't make sense to us. Patrick pointed this out, and ODOT was right on it as well. But you may have seen in the paper, and actually this lower right is a picture from the press conference of the Route 42 5-lane widening from Harding to Fenn. Okay, well, it doesn't make sense to us to repave the existing and then in another year and a half, 2 years, tear all that out and redo it. So Patrick Patton from our engineering department spoke with ODOT. They agreed. So we're pulling that project, the repaving project, back to Harding, because there's no sense putting good road down and tearing it right back up. Let's talk about some of the business initiatives. First of all, I'll tell you that it's, let me keep track of time here. Let me tell you that it's action, not just talk. I've given you examples. I'll continue to give you examples. But one thing is that I, as the mayor, and the department heads are very eager to meet with people coming to town. People want to know about services. People want to know about, what do I need to do to start a business? What can the city help me do to expand my business? Things like that. You don't need to have appointments. You don't need to go through 3 screening processes, get fingerprints, all that other stuff. I'm out as much in the rotunda as I am in my office, talking with people, helping people, directing people. Many times they're not there to see me. They don't even know who I am. A lot of people, especially if they're new to town, they just want to know where to sign up for their water or where to get their building permit or whatever. Sometimes they find out who they were talking to, but that's not important. What is important is that's the service model that we want at City Hall, that everybody is there to help and assist in any way we can when people come in and out of the building. Kimberly has done a great job with, you'll see here in a number of the pictures, ribbons. Kimberly, the Chamber, and Main Street Medina collaboratively have all promoted these through each of their own respective groups to try to draw more attention to them. What we do then is post those ribbon cutting photos on the city website. So anybody coming to the city website sees those businesses over and over and over again. That helps the businesses, and it helps people know that the city cares enough about the businesses to do those type things. We've given revocable use permits to at least 4 different establishments in the city just to help them out. If you don't know what that is, they need a little piece of land from the city. We're not using the piece of land anyway. A good example is Sully's. When they wanted to put their outdoor patio on, they needed about a foot to 18 inches of grass that we were mowing every week anyway. Really no purpose for the city to hold on to that, but we can't just give away city property. So Mr. Huber from our law department drew up a revocable use permit, which says we'll give you this land to the cities to use up until the time that the city may need it back. If we have to expand our parking lot, if we have to take it back for some reason, we still have a right. That's why it's called revocable. We have a right to pull that back at any time. Larry Johns is here from McJack. I don't know where you're at, right there. Larry's going to do an expansion at his property there. They're the largest manufacturer of gourmet lollipops. Anybody that doesn't know Larry, if you're into lollipops, see Larry after the meeting here. But Larry and his father point out to the city that we have a 100% performance bond for a project, which what that means in layman's terms, which is what I needed to understand it, is you have to put up 100% of what that project's going to cost or a bond equal to 100%. Well, we've never pulled one of those bonds. We've never called one of those. We've never required it. Plus, if Larry starts his building and then changes his mind midstream, we're surely not going to finish it because we don't know what the end user is going to want with it, right? All we got to do is stabilize it. So as we analyze that through the city, we found out that really 25% was a more reasonable number because we're not going to change it or fix it or complete it. So we took that to city council. One of the quickest things I've seen work through council in my time with the city, and we're not real slow. I can tell you in another city, I'd be astonished to have them match that. But within probably 60 days, just time to get the request, the 2 meetings, and 30 days wait, we changed that from 100% to 25% because of a business leader bringing that to our attention, that what you're doing doesn't make sense here. Why are you requiring companies to take money that they could invest in their project and give it to the city to hold on, and at the end of the project, give it back to them? Made no sense whatsoever, and that's why it was changed. I know Krista's here from the health department. We've been meeting, the city and the health department have been meeting with new businesses coming in that are going to be preparing and serving food, trying to help them understand what all the requirements are, what needs to be done, so there are no surprises at the end. And then last but not least, we got $1 million for phase 1 and phase 2 on commercial and industrial properties for brownfields. And I know that's helped the chamber, and I know it's helped a number of businesses, be it in here or elsewhere, but it was a collaboration again. That's what we're trying to do, use government money as efficiently as we can. So the city was the main participant and overseeing the grant dollars, but the city, all 4 townships surrounding us, and Chippewa Lake all took part in that. Employee initiatives, one of the main things that we did is provide more and more training. Leadership training, sexual harassment training, liability training, evaluation training, because we're using people more effectively and efficiently, and our supervisors have to be able to evaluate those processes and make sure, see, I can't do 2 things at once, make sure that we're not, I'm way behind, aren't I? That we're using our employees as best we can. Okay, I'm back on track. Community initiatives. I want to spend more time with this. Community initiatives, the flower urns. When I took over in 2010, we had the little squares around the trees. I called them kickboxes because we had people tripping over them and falling, and you couldn't grow flowers there because the cement was so hot in the summer that the depth of the dirt just wasn't adequate. So we looked at what would it take to remove all of those, and that was just labor, but what could we replace them with? We started with 25 of the flower urns, and today we're up to 71. And what we do is each year, through Boyert's graciousness, they store the pots in the dirt, so each following year all we have to pay for is the flowers. They start them early for us. When the plants are real small, get them pretty well going. When the frost threat is gone, they deliver them in bulk to us, and then we use our little equipment and place them around the square. I can't tell you the number of people who have commented to me on those flower urns, particularly from outside of Medina. I was eating dinner with my wife at House of Hunan, and a couple from Cleveland could not say enough about the appearance of the square, the flowers, and just the downtown of how manicured and well-kept it was. They also asked me if I could come up to Cleveland and show them how to do that, and I declined that. So, one of the things that we're most proud of is during the introduction, Chad mentioned the community policing initiatives that we did, and those were very successful. But in my mind, what we took with community policing is we took police officers and instructed them on what's a building code violation, what's a fire code violation, what are some planning code violations that maybe they can't enforce, but they know what it is to see it, and they can report it back to the planning director so that we can then take action on those things. And it's that many more eyes and ears. We've got officers 24/7. Sometimes there's slow times when they have time to drive around and see these things. So what we did now, I'm calling it the community government model, but what we did is we just reversed that now. So now the water guys, the parks guys, the streets guys, everybody's cross-trained through the whole city. We have all those employees now that know what a fire code violation is, all trained in CPR and first aid, all know what planning code violations are. And that's an example of using all of your staff instead of having these little silos. If it's not water, the water guys don't look at it. If it's not streets, the streets guys don't look at it. Using your people effectively and efficiently, and using the tax dollars that you all are giving us as effectively as we can. We did a proactive property maintenance program where we're trying to keep the property values up even in these trying times. And if you have a house in the neighborhood that's just derating those things, then we want to know about that, and we take care of it. But we have people from our building department, our inspectors, our law department, our police department, all get together either biweekly or monthly to talk about what each of them are doing individually and what they can do to support one another in each of those efforts. And I think it's making quite a difference. We talked about the Christmas lighting downtown. This year we're trying to make it even bigger. Haven't got to the discussions yet with council, but the hope is to have the blocks approaching the square instead of just the square lit up as well. Maybe not quite to the same degree because we still want the wow effect when people get to the downtown, but we're still working on that. Main Street Medina and the Chamber, we're working to bring different types of events. You may notice now people say every time I go by the square something's happening there. That's not by accident. We're trying to have more and more events, a variety of events, and any reason at all to bring people downtown and help the businesses. Just recently, it was in the paper. It has not passed council yet, but did pass 7-0, the finance department. We were in negotiations and are successful in acquiring the Key Bank property. Barbara thanked me for the business the city has given to Gershbacher Realty. But we think to create restrooms there on that corner. And when I'm talking about restrooms, I'm not talking about the little building that's there. We're going to enclose in the entire drive-through, have halls with 10 to 12 restrooms instead of the 2 at the fire station or porta-johns on the square. Those are not very welcoming to a community. They're not to have adequate restrooms or the porta-johns. You get this beautiful decorated square and porta-johns right there with it. So our hope is that to get that through council. That'll be at this meeting coming up next Monday, and then we will put that out to bid. We got to draw up plans, get that out to bid, and get that built. And there's a little foyer, if any of you ever been over there, there's a little foyer to start with. Our hope is to have some brochures and a little welcome center, unmanned, but to talk about what are the activities, what's available on the square, what are the upcoming events, so that when visitors come in, they grab one of those instead of just, seeing it on a poster and then forgetting by the time they get home. Now they've got something that they can take home, put it on the refrigerator or in their calendar. And then last but not least, I thought I had the trees in the upper left corner there. We had and have a real problem with the ash borer infestation, as does the whole state. The whole state is suffering with this. But you talk about lessons learned. What we learned, we used to like to have the same tree because that street looked nice when they all bloom at the same time and the leaves all turn colors at the same time, and it's nice, it's homey, right? Until you get an ash borer, now you've lost the whole street, right? Darn, who thought of that, But we should have, okay, because we've had other things that affected the elm tree. So what we've done now is we've re-strategized that, and we're putting different species on the streets where we're taking out the ash trees. And as we get ready to replace trees that either need replaced, they get too big, they get hit, they get damaged, they get diseased, whatever, we'll intentionally put different species in there. So again, in the future, we won't have to relive what we're doing with having to take out streets of trees. Airport initiatives, we've done a great deal in this term with the airport. Brand new administration building. First year I was in office. That started obviously before I was here in the mayor's office. But Miles Reed from our cable office, if you ever get a chance to stop out there, they're open Monday through Friday during the day. If you need the meeting room, they'll let you use the meeting room. But there's a history of aviation in that meeting room that will astound you. From Mr. Root being at the Wright brothers' first flight, to Medina residents flying George Patton in World War II, to airplanes being made in Medina from the James Bond movie. I'd encourage you to take some time and go out there and see that. The other thing that Miles did that really helped the airport is he developed a website where people can come, and if you land your plane there, well, you don't have to land your plane there, but it makes sense if you do. You land your plane there, you can schedule a cab, you can schedule a dinner, you can schedule a golf outing, you can schedule a meeting in that meeting room, never have to leave the airport. He's got all those things plugged in to where people can take care of all of their needs just through the website. And then to draw other people to the website, if you want to track a flight coming into Cleveland Hopkins or Akron Airport, some family members are coming in, you can get on their website, put in that flight number, what airport that's coming to, and it'll tell you, is it on time? When's it expected? Are there delays? All those things. Miles did an excellent job with that. There's pilot certification classes out there. University Hospital has their helicopter there. The upper left is Jet A fuel. Well, that's not Jet A fuel, that's the tank. But Jet A fuel is what the helicopters use. So we had the helicopters there, but no fuel for them, because the fuel we had was for the smaller airplanes, two different things, kind of like diesel and gasoline, if you will. So we've got Jet A now, so they can refuel. That creates a revenue source now for us for matching funds for the FAA grants that we're trying to achieve. We've also reached out to the clinic, Dr. Talisiak, to try to see if the clinic helicopters would also be willing to refuel there. Because the more revenue we can bring in, the more improvements and enhancements we can continue to do, and the more matching dollars we can have to continue things at the airport. I know this is what you've all been waiting for, the financial position. The general fund, look at all those dollars. Notice they're all ones, though. They're all ones. That's Keith for you. The general fund reserve balance, we have 90% of the annual revenue in reserve, which means if the general fund stopped today, we'd have almost enough to last a year, 90%. The income tax went down, as you can imagine, through the recession. We are seeing it tick back up. Last year it was increasing a little bit. This year it's about 2 to 5%. 2% equals about $250,000. So $250,000 better. If it's 5%, it's $500,000. But it's going in the right direction versus the other. The bond rating was upgraded in 2010 to AA1, and when we did our refinancing in this year, 2013, we maintained that bond rating because that's like a chance when they review it, and are we going to keep you there or not keep you there? You bank guys know this stuff. We kept it. The interest rates are historically low, so we refinanced the debt for our water and the rec center. It resulted in a savings of $1 million just by refinancing. We didn't extend the payoff, just at a lower interest rate. And then also the Finance Department has received awards called Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association for 4 years, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. And you all are probably thinking what I did, what happened to 12 and 13? Well, they're 2 years behind. Okay, we'll catch up to those here shortly. So I would like to compliment Keith and his staff on the excellent job they're doing, as well as the council. I mean, the council has to evaluate these things each time, monies have to be allocated and are doing an excellent job. The JED, two other financial things, the JED for Montville is doing very well. We're getting about 170, not the city. Collectively, we're getting $170,000 to $180,000 a year. The first 20% goes to the JED for future development, and the other 80% is split 50-50. But again, that's $170,000, $180,000 that neither one of us would see had it not been for the JED. And it's working so well that Lafayette Township is currently in talks with the city and their support to create a new JED for the technology park and some of their areas that are yet to be developed down in Lafayette Township. Can't be done in residential areas. It's only commercial areas. These are some of the awards that the city has recently received. Most recently, in September of last year, ING named Medina as one of the 100 best communities for young people. That's important because if you want young folks to go to college and stay here and get jobs here and help continue the community, that's important. The second one was November of 2012. A Midwest Living magazine named Medina as one of the 25 best places to celebrate Christmas. And again, kudos to the council for having the will and the vision to work with the administration, to work with Main Street, to work with the chamber to create that downtown lighting experience, the fireworks, the parade, everything that it was, and obviously Midwest Living magazine recognized that. I'd like to thank you for your attention. I know we're getting kind of close on time. I'll answer any questions that there are, and I couldn't be prouder to be the mayor of the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure there's some questions. We have just a couple minutes if anybody's got a quick question for the mayor. Nobody? Nothing? Construction? Anything? Fair game.
I told them we'd answer questions until the hard ones came, then we'd stop.
Thanks again.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Great presentation. Appreciate that. Looking forward the next 12 months, what do you see the challenges to be for the city, or what's on the to-do agenda, or what things would you like to accomplish? Okay,
just so it's on the tape, the question is, what are the challenges? What are we planning here for the next 12 months? And finances are going to continually be on the radar. Federal money is drying up. State money is much more limited than it was in the past. So what that means is we need to create the jobs here to bring in the local revenue. And we also, three things. Have to create the jobs. Second of all, we have to collaborate with other organizations, other governments, the schools, doing a great deal, collaboration between the schools and the city of what we could do to save each other's monies, your tax dollars. So collaboration, new jobs, and the third thing is just, as I think the presentation showed, try to find the most efficient and effective way to spend those tax dollars, each and every time. The old way is not necessarily the best way. What can we do to spend these dollars more effectively? Yes, sir.
You know, if anybody reads the news, they know sometimes it's difficult to deal with collective bargaining units. It seems like you have done something that someone would consider insurmountable when you talk about the different business or the different departments working together and looking at other things. How the heck did you do that? Or did I just put you on the spot?
No. Well, we're starting collective bargaining agreements here before long. Our 3 police contracts are coming up, so not that they'd watch and see what I had to say or anything, but no. In all seriousness, it comes back to our staff. Our staff are committed, our staff are dedicated, our staff know that the council and I and my department heads are doing everything in our power to keep their jobs. Not to the detriment of the community, but to use who we have as effectively and as efficiently as we can. And they understand that this may not be the normal water guy's job, but to stay here, this is what's expected of me. And in each and every one of our job descriptions, it gives us the flexibility, and we will not have the unions writing job descriptions for us or taking management rights away from us. Many times, they want to trade management rights. You give away your management rights, and we won't ask for quite as much of a raise. But once those things are gone, you never get them back. So fortunately, our council has been very adept at protecting those management rights to give us the ability to do what we did. But also, our staff are very committed, very caring, very dedicated to what they do day in and day out. And if I ask the fire guys to do something that's out of the fire realm, the police to do something, and some of that is just through trust. The other thing is through leadership. I'm not here to gloat or anything, but if you lead by positive example and people see you doing what you're asking them to do, like picking up trash, like assisting other people, all those things that we talked about here, then they'll do the same thing. Anything else? Going once?
Thanks again, Mayor. Thanks to your staff. And with that, we're concluded. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.